Hello everyone, today we're going to be discussing the 2020 election results, starting with the presidential election, then going to the other branches. So starting off with the presidential election, Joe Biden got 306 electoral votes, Donald Trump got 232. There was a few shocker states here, Georgia surprisingly, which actually was very good for the Democrats in the House and Senate elections, and presidential, I believe. The other shocker state here was Florida. It was a extremely good margin for Donald Trump, and I say good as in compared to Hillary Clinton, his 2016 margin. Nevada was surprisingly close, but I mean, pretty much everyone expected it to flip when the results were going on because Las Vegas County wasn't counted originally. So other shocker states, Pennsylvania, it was close, but it wasn't too much of a shocker. We always knew it was probably going to be in the lean margin, but this was a very close lean margin. Michigan and Wisconsin shocked us because a lot of people, including myself, thought it would be a likely margin, but this one was a pretty good lean margin for Joe Biden, and Wisconsin, of course, was a tilt margin. I believe it was a tilt margin, which there's probably going to be recounts in the state of Wisconsin. Those were pretty much the shocker states. North Carolina I categorized as going to Joe Biden, but I always knew it would be a toss-up. I put it as tilt, so it could go either way. It ended up being barely lean for Donald Trump with some outstanding ballots, I believe. Those are pretty much the shocker states. Arizona was very close. It's within a tilt margin, mostly because the late ballots from Maricopa County ended up helping Donald Trump, but Joe Biden did still win the state of Arizona. So it's funny because 306 to 232 was the 2016 election margin. This is the final results. I don't see anything really changing. Maybe some ballots in North Carolina, just the one there's outstanding ballots, but nothing would really change electoral as an electoral count wise. Despite Donald Trump's efforts and his legal team to try to recount or whatever they're trying to do, it's unlikely to actually change a whole state characterization. So Joe Biden is the president-elect of the United States, 306-232, and that is the presidential election. Moving on to the Senate, the Senate was, while the presidential election was pretty good for the Democrats, the Senate election was actually extremely good for the Republicans, and I'll tell you why. So one, Iowa, which is something I did characterize as a Republican. I did get the state right. Ernst won by a pretty considerable margin. I believe, 6.6%? I believe 6.6%. 6%. Basically, Ernst wasn't expected to win by this much. I characterized that she would win, but I only said by a tilt margin, but she ended up winning by a likely margin. Susan Collins won by 9% against Sarah Gideon, which literally almost every forecast put as Sarah Gideon winning by a lean margin. Susan Collins won by a likely margin, almost safe margin. It really goes to show how Maine is an extremely difficult state to actually measure, because there's the different districts that have different electoral count wise. It's an extremely hard state to measure, especially with the ballot split, sort of, as in there's a lot of people that voted for Joe Biden that also voted for Susan Collins. North Carolina, honestly, to me, it was not that shocking. I did characterize it as, I believe, lean or tilt. I think it was lean to Cunningham, but it wasn't extremely shocking because considering Tillis did only win by a lean margin, but there's still some outstanding ballots, so it could very well be a lower lean margin. Arizona, I knew, we all know it would be a lean margin, which I think it has. What is it? Yeah, it's a lean margin, like a 1.4% margin. We knew it would be. Some people thought it would be a likely margin. I don't think I characterized it likely. I might have, but I honestly knew it would be lean, and I knew Miss Sally would lose. So then that was extremely good for the Republicans, but they still don't have majority of the Senate. They still need these two Georgia elections. So one of them, I definitely, I think they're both going to be extremely contested, especially since Georgia is very well a traditionally Republican state, but it did go to the Democrats in the presidential election, and both of their races went to a runoff. What I expect is that I know it is a traditionally Republican state, so I would expect Purdue to win. Original predictions. I would expect Purdue to win, just because he only lost by about, or he only went under the recount thing by about 0.3%. He needed 50%, I believe. So to be honest, it did trigger a runoff, but it is a traditionally Republican state. The other thing is Loeffler and Warnock. Warnock is a he's a Democratic candidate, but he could win potentially. I feel like this is going to be more contested than the other one, because I feel like the other one is going to go to Purdue. But this one, I believe it's going to be better for the Democrats. I don't still know if they're going to win 100%, but it will be better most likely, given how Loeffler, as a candidacy, there's a lot of controversy in her candidacy. So that's the Senate. The Democrats would need to win 2 of the Senate seats to get a majority, and that would be a barely majority, sort of. It would be 50-50, in which Kamala Harris would break the tie. Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Honestly, what I expect it to be, just this early on prediction, I would expect it to be 51-49. I believe Purdue would win, but I believe Warnock might be able to overtake Loeffler. So that's the Senate. The House was abysmal for the Democrats. It was extremely abysmal. Of course, they still took control of the House, but in the midterms, it's going to be extremely hard to draw a map where the Democrats would win. And it would be extremely easy to draw a map where the Republicans would win in the midterms. And in fact, the Democrats have a barely majority. We don't even know what the speakership is going to be. When is the speakership? I believe, 2021 is when they elect a new speaker. I mean, that, given how the Democrats don't always vote for Nancy Pelosi, a lot of them vote for other candidates, it's going to be extremely a close race. And the Democrats might need to look for new speakership, considering how Nancy Pelosi sort of scared off a lot of the moderates that were maybe thinking of voting for a Democrat for the House, but we're thinking of how Nancy Pelosi was too radical, and that they didn't want to vote for someone that was under her leadership. So I believe that if the Democrats do want to do better in the House, they might need to look towards more moderate leadership. That is me being, I'm not trying to be biased. I'm just saying it's a fact that Nancy Pelosi is not as moderate as a lot of other people in the House, in that she may scare off people that were voting in this election that were thinking of voting for a Democrat but did not because of her leadership. So I'm going to look at, it's 222, 204. If this was held today, or if it was just immediately called where it's at right now, I believe it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that would be 204 plus 8, which is 212, I believe. That would be horrible if I did not. But 212 to 222. But then there's also, if you look, I believe it would be 213, because there's this Louisiana one, but it's going to a Republican because both of the candidates are Republicans. So it would be 213 to 222, I believe, which is absolutely abysmal for the Democrats, considering they were at 232 and they were expected to gain seats. So we're looking, I'll show you some of the contested ones. I believe DDHQ has already called a few more of these, I believe in New York, because they have 100% of the precincts in, but these aren't really too contested. I expect nothing to change. They're probably both going to go to Republicans. I don't expect this one to change either, or this one. I expect this could be the only one that, I don't know, maybe change if there's more violence. It says 100% of the precincts in. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I expect these to go the way they are projected. This one, could change, and so could, because there's only about 95.5% of precincts in. I expect this one might go to the Democrat just because look how close it is, and there's still outstanding ballots. This one is the most contested race of the House elections. It is Miller Meeks versus Rita Hart, Marionette Miller Meeks versus Rita Hart. It is 50-50, with the Republican leading by about 47 votes, I believe. So, I mean, in the long run, it doesn't really matter, considering the damage has already been done to the Democratic Party in the House elections. This would just be a final blow, given that Marionette Miller Meeks, according to 538's forecast, I believe, let me look at this, Miller Meeks had a 12% chance to win. 12. Look what the actual thing was supposed to be. 54-45. And it is 50-50, and the Republican is winning by 47 votes out of about roughly 400,000. That is abysmal. And the only polls on here, I don't even know how they got that, because the only polls on here, there's 3 polls. One of them was even. One of them was Rita Hart plus 11, and then the other one was Marionette Miller Meeks plus 4. I guess they averaged it out or something. But generally, that was by A+. That was by Monmouth, and they said Rita Hart was plus 11. She's set to lose by around 47 votes. So it just wasn't great for the Democrats in the House. It also wasn't great for Democrats in the Senate, but I mean, they could still win it if the runoffs go to them. And then in the presidential, it wasn't as good as it was expected to be, but it was still a win for the Democrats. Last one is governors. This wasn't too interesting. The only contested race was Montana, to be honest. Actually, I believe there was one thing that Montana, yeah, there's a Senate one, Montana, but it was Daines won by about 10%, which I find weird because I saw a lot of ads, like I got Steve Daines ads from the Republican Party, like the Democrats are trying to smear Steve Daines. But the funny thing is, I mean, he won by 10%. They really should have been focusing on, I don't know, the Georgia one, the Arizona one, but instead they chose that, which was interesting to say the least. The only governorship, again, I believe, the governor, Greg won by, 13%, which is, I mean, it's a pretty significant margin. It was expected to be contested, but I'm pretty sure it was always expected to go to the Republicans. So that was the only governor race that was, contested. All the other ones were pretty much set to go that way. Roy Cooper, he was expected to win by 8%. He only won by around 4%, which isn't that great for him, but it is still a win, and it is still a lean margin. So that is the 2020 election results review, basically. What we basically learned from that, again, presidential was pretty good for the Democrats. Senate was mixed, because the Democrats still could win, but it wasn't great for the Democrats, or great for the Republicans, but the Republicans should be a little happy about where they are. House, abysmal for the Democrats. The Republicans should be extremely happy about their future in 2022 House elections. And then governor, nothing was really contested, but the Republicans did pick up a seat, I believe. So that is the 2020 election results, and I will see you for future projections about maybe 2022, 2024 presidential. Bye. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you liked, and subscribe if you enjoy my content.